and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we are going to talk about healthier living for the new year. Maybe some of those resolutions to be perfect have already been broken, but we can still find realistic ways to make our family healthier. My guest is Alvean Lyons from Healthy Families. Welcome back.
Thanks, Robin. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's official. It is official.
It's change, you know, it just keeps going, whether we want it to or not.
It does. It does. And it can keep going in good ways, which is what obviously our goal conversation is today.
See, that's important because I've already broken my resolution to, be perfect and lose 25 pounds in the first week. And I'm not there.
Truly. And it's depressing.
Yes. And I want to be a better person and be kinder to those around me. And I'm not sure I'm achieving that yet either. So I hope you can help.
Well, I'm going to. Well, I could tell you a real easy way to be a little bit better as a human. Get some sleep. We are so sleep deprived as a culture. It's unbelievable. And the decisions that we make and how we handle ourselves and others is directly connected to how we're abusing ourselves. So today is a perfect opportunity for us to talk about 3 of the areas in our lives that we really could do simple things that help us to be healthier as people, so individually. And we always talk about the fact that when we take care of us, we're better to others. But too often we sacrifice ourselves, and unfortunately everybody else gets sacrificed too in some small way, especially if you're a parent. So let's start with the whole simple thing that everybody talks about every single year, the mind, body, spirit thing. Most of the times when we're talking about our resolutions, they fall into one of those categories, if not all of them, like you mentioned previously. Being a better person, losing weight, doing all of those things, It falls into all those categories. So let's start first with mind.
Okay.
Mind is such a wonderful category because it really has no limits as to what that could mean for us individually. So if we break it down in terms of the difference for us as parents and then the things that we could be encouraging for our children, let's think about it in terms of growth. Your mind is a beautiful place to be able to expand ideas, possibilities, the things that you know, because the more that you know, the more you could potentially do. But as parents, we have to model the things that we're trying to make happen for our kids. We always talk about the fact that kids don't learn from what it is that we say, they learn from what it is that we do. So if we want to change the way that they orient to growing, even how they orient to their homework, if we're going to be very frank, let them see us doing things that help expand our minds. So it makes sense to them that the stuff that I'm doing right now that just seems absolutely useless will actually be practical for me as I get older. So let me make a direct analogy. We have teenage kids. Well, I have a teenage son. The rest of them are older than that. Yes. But can you believe it? Oh my gosh, every year I get older. I don't know how this is happening. But my teenage son does not always love sitting down with a book. And part of that is because we've developed a culture of technology such that you're always on your phone doing virtually everything, including reading the news.
Yes. Oh, I read my newspapers on my phone.
On your phone all the time. And what we don't often realize is that our kids, if we're not communicating that, they process that as if we're doing luxury things.
Right.
We are playing games, we're on Facebook, we're doing some kind of social media that we're not actually doing anything that requires us to think. So if you don't communicate about the fact that this is what's going on this phone, and that I'm actually reading, and we can have a discussion about world news, what's going on in our local community, what's happening in our schools. If we're not communicating those things, there are assumptions that are being made that says the mom and dad, or mom, whoever it may be, does not read. So this reading thing that I have to do all the time, I shouldn't have to do, because you're never going to need it as an adult, because they're not making the connection that the things that I'm doing now are going to be necessary for me later on, because I don't see or don't think I'm seeing that modeled. So sometimes it's important for us to sit down. So our deal is for 2017 that we're going to sit in the same room. You don't have to be reading the same things, but we're going to make the conscious decision to say that this is our brain time. We're all going to be reading something. His SATs are coming soon. God knows that you could use that extra reading and comprehension and that kind of thing. But if he sees us doing it, it's so much easier to say, okay, all right, this stuff is legitimate. I actually have to do something every now and then. So when I talk about the fact that what we do as parents has a direct correlation in terms of what our kids do and how they respond to those experiences, it really, really does. And it does. My house is no exception. I'm not suggesting in any form or fashion we've got it down perfect. No, we're going through everything that every mommy and daddy is going through also. But we've got to fix it in our modeling in order to change it in their replication.
Well, and you know what else? I know you work from home a lot. I have homework
right.
that I take with me. And when the kids are little, you wait until they go to bed.
Right.
And then you're doing your homework.
Right.
But as they get older, you can let them know, yes, mommy doesn't just work from 9 to 5.
Right.
It
keeps
all
going.
night and all weekend
Absolutely.
and everything else.
Absolutely.
And so you can let them know that there's that expectation out there that I'm doing it, that we're all doing it together.
Yes. And then the secondary thing that I would say also in terms of the growing is that there are so many things that we are not good at as individuals, as adults. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that we're not going to know everything. We're not going to be great at everything. But for our kids to be able to see us work on learning something new, be it a skill, a task, some goal that you may have. I want to learn how to speak another language. I do not speak another language fluently. And I think it's something that's very necessary in the culture we have now. In our United States, there are so many different cultures that are blended together that make us excellent. But we have to come out of our normal shells and begin to experience some of this culture in different kinds of ways. So learning how to speak another language is a great way to learn how to connect with more people. So I'm trying to work on that. But my kid has to go to school and he has to learn how to speak Spanish in school and he hates it. But if we make that part of what it is that we're doing and he sees us do that or hears us fumble through the language, figure out how to reach for the milk in the refrigerator and someone says, can you hand me the leche? Like that at least we're trying. Your kids recognize the fact that this is actually a good thing and that you never stop learning. And grown-ups are also going through the process of learning how to do more, to be able to connect in new ways. We have to go through that too. So when we start talking about growing in terms of our minds, it's just the expansion of what it is that we're capable of doing. But model that expansion out loud. Let your kids know so that they can make that real connection, that what they're going through in school will actually have some meaning and value in your life later. And those practices of having to do the difficult thing, having to go through the experiences of not being good at something in order to finally be good at something, that experience, that process never ends. You're always going to go through that process, but you have to welcome it. Because you end up being a better person when you do. So let that mind experience, the expansion of your mind, be a great and healthy thing this year because it's great for our kids.
So it's good for us, and then the kids get the spin-off benefit.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
Or if it's easier to package it this way, we're doing it for our kids, and it also is good for us.
Exactly. We need it too.
We tend to be a little more motivated by what's good for the kids sometimes.
It's true. It's true. Because especially as parents, it's always...
Right.
We forget me. Yep, I'll do it for you. So yes, do something good for your mind this year. You choose what that thing is, but make the conscious decision to communicate the fact.
Whatever you're doing, make sure you share that.
Make sure your kids know that it's happening because it's planting a seed of understanding for them about what's going to be necessary for their present growth and what's also going to be necessary as they become an adult. So that's the mind part. Now let's talk about the body piece. You mentioned the fact that it's one of the #1 resolutions that I'm going to get in shape this year, or I'm going to lose weight this year, or I'm going to eat healthy this week, whatever it is, it's #1 resolution. But what's interesting is that research suggests that within the first 5 weeks, it's over. 5 weeks is on average about how long it lasts, unless we make a conscious decision to integrate that into our lives in ways that don't feel like you're changing everything.
That, I think, is the big mistake that I make, that I see other people make, is that on January 1 or 2 maybe, you're suddenly going to change every habit all at once.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the most daunting idea ever. It is. And it creates this totally unnecessary pressure to be perfect, which we will absolutely never
Not a
be.
chance.
So why do we do this to ourselves? It's torture. And what's funny is we do it every single year. As if it worked last year. Cut it out. Just release yourself from that stress. Start with something small and with small accountabilities. And what I mean by that is, okay, so I have my Fitbit
Yes.
on my wrist.
Look at
and
that.
I love my Fitbit. It was my Christmas present from my husband. And he was not saying you're fat. That was not the point. It's that I often forget especially when you work a lot, to get up and move.
They remind you. See, I have the I outgrew the Fitbit and went to the watch. But it's important. It's important
so
to remember
true.
to pay attention to it too. Because frankly, you can wear it and not look
And
at
ignore
it,
it.
and then it's not
Totally.
helping. Yeah.
Totally agree. But the small things, and that's really what it is in life. It's the little things and the little accountability reminders that help us to do a little bit more. And you don't even realize that doing just a little bit more consistently makes big differences.
Right.
So when I set my goal of 10,000 steps a day, it doesn't even occur to you that the breakdown of just 250 4 times will take you to where you ultimately need to be. So like I love the fact that it just kind of reminds me, hey, you need to get up and move because you've been still for too long.
Yep.
And that little vibration is just enough to say, oh yeah, and sometimes you can't get up, you're in a meeting, you can't. And what's funny is you can't convince it that you're moving if you're not. I've tried. I laid in bed and tried to move my feet to see if it would count. It doesn't work.
No, but if you do this, it does.
It doesn't.
But it is exercise. It may not be the optimum exercise, but it's
still exercise.
Yeah,
It's true. But it's the little things of having something so small in your life to just remind you of what you already know. Because it's not always about some big revelation that all of a sudden I'm going to do these 92 things I never did before. But sometimes it's just reminders of some small things that if we bring those back into our lives, we can get some big results, which in essence is what we do every time you and I have a conversation.
Right.
We're not.
It's that little fine tuning.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, I'm going to be a different person next
Altogether.
day. It's not going to happen.
Suddenly I'm going to be somebody new. No, it's just the little things that you raise back to your levels of awareness that allow us to be more and to do more. And our bodies are so important. We underestimate every day how important our bodies are. And it's not about being a size 2, and it's not about whether or not you're 6 feet tall and a supermodel or, the fitness king. It's none of those things. It's about the fact that, and I love this, Brene Brown, Dr. Brene Brown, who does all kinds of social research. One of the things that she said, just in balance for humans, is the importance of recognizing that the body keeps score and it always wins. And I thought that was so accurate in that we ignore our bodies and we don't take care of them, but we need them to do all kinds of things. We make them secondary, and then they shut us down if we don't shut down when we need to shut down. So taking this orientation to life that I'm just going to keep going and I'm going to go as hard as I can all the time. The kids need me, my partner needs me, and you're just going and going and going. And work needs me, it'll fall apart if I'm not there. The reality is eventually it will shut you down because you haven't taken care of you enough to just pause. You need a nap. You make better decisions when you take a nap. You need to get some decent sleep at night. You won't be crabby with your partner and your kids all the time.
See, that is, the even a little bit of exercising, and I find especially if it's in the fresh air, especially if it's outdoors,
Right.
in nature, sunshine, all those things combine to take away a lot of stress.
Yes.
And when I am less stressed and it helps you sleep. So
True.
there's this cycle that happens, and when you are less stressed, you are more patient with those around you.
You make
Therefore,
better decisions, and you're a better partner, and you're a better parent. And it's not about the fact that you're going to be perfect after these things, but you are better.
Yeah, you don't go from here to here when
Right.
something happens.
Right.
You escalate
Right.
your way up.
That's exactly right.
And that's a more appropriate response.
Because you're
most
not
of the time.
exhausted and you're not functioning off of a deficit.
Right.
Some of the worst decisions we've ever made in our lives are during periods of time where we were stressed out. And a lot of times that stress is also physical as much as it is mental. We've been pushing ourselves past our threshold and we're functioning in that space of deficit for long periods of time. And eventually something snaps.
Yep.
And whether it's you scream at the kid or you
get
scream at
bronchitis or whatever.
or you get a horrible flu, all of those things, it's all a byproduct of the fact that the body needs certain things. So taking care of our body has to become a priority, because really it is the foundation that everything else sits on. Your ability to get to work each day is based on whether or not you're healthy enough to do it. Your ability to think clearly and make adequate decisions is based on whether or not you are not sleep deprived. I mean, the list goes on and on. So be good to your body this year.
And there's this long-term correlation, which frankly I can never focus on, but it is, I want to be around for my grandkids. I'm suffering through my kids, love them to death, but I'm waiting for the payback. So
I get to see.
You've got that. I don't have that.
Oh,
and I don't want it anytime soon, to be clear. But I can't think in the long term sometimes. So I can barely think of, let me get through this day and not lose my job by screaming at someone or, scream at my kids unnecessarily. Let me just, just today.
One step at a time.
Right.
But it is true. There is a long-term payoff to taking care of yourself today, and there's a long-term consequence to sacrificing yourself today.
Right.
So thinking through those things.
And some people are good at the long term. They can keep that, in their sights.
Oh yeah,
I can say, what's the next 10 minutes? That's, that's my
Can I make it to the next meeting?
Right.
Can I get through that effectively? I'd be proud of myself. But it's true. You got to take care of your body. You have to take care of you. There's nothing selfish about being good to you, because quite frankly, it benefits everybody else that you are. So we know that we need to work on expanding the mind. We know that we need to work on taking care of the body. But then we start talking about the soul. And not in terms of religious orientation to that thing. It may be.
It could be for some people.
It may be for some
Absolutely.
people. But we're not saying that you have to stuff it in that particular box.
Right.
What we are saying is taking care of the inner you. That you have to make time for places of peace and restoration. And that restoration for people of faith may be your church, your local organization. It may be with a prayer group. That may be what it is for you.
It might be. It could be meditation.
And I was just going to say, for somebody else, it might be yoga. It might be a time of quiet. It might, absolutely. It might be your opportunity to be out there and to give to others, because we receive beautiful benefits in giving, which seems counterintuitive, but it's actually a direct correlate. We feel better as humans when we are doing good things for other people, because we know we have meaning and value, and everybody seeks that feeling in various kinds of ways. So you have to do something for your soul also, that inner you that is really at the center of all kinds of things. We add to our world by making sure that we are building up our spirit or our soul in multiple ways. So I totally agree with you in the sense that we can find so many ways to be able to do this, but we have to prioritize it enough to be able to make that part of what it is that we're consciously doing.
Okay.
So
mind, body, spirit, and maybe don't make those resolutions so that you can even break them in 5 weeks. Make them more gradual and more gentle. I think sometimes we make them so that we fail, so that the rest of the 11 months we don't have to try.
To do it, right? It's like a planned exit, right?
Yes, and that's not helping.
No, nobody. We're not better for it, and the people who love us are not better for it either. So we've got to take care of ourselves in the ways that are necessary, and know that there's nothing selfish about taking care of you so that you can be there for the people that you love.
Absolutely. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you will take the time to take care of yourself, knowing that your family will benefit, you will benefit, and all the people you interact with will benefit as well. Happy New Year.